Hi everyone, welcome back to another reading vlog. I have two primary motivations for making this video. One is that I've only read 2 books in February so far, and it is the 24th. So I just need, just something to get me excited about reading. And then the second reason that I'm making this video is thus far in 2024, I have not rated any books 5 stars, and I've read 10 books so far. I've had a close 5-star with They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. Highly recommend. I gave that one 4.5, but it just didn't give me the 5-star feeling. So I have gathered several books for this video, all of which I think could potentially be 5-star reads for me, or at least that's what I'm predicting. And I'm just gonna read them over the next week, the last week of February, and hope for the best, because I really need a strong book to pull me back into reading mode. And with that being said, my first book that I'm gonna pick up today is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Black romance. It's still February, so I just thought this was a really good read for February, being a black romance. I picked out this book in my TBR video, or my TBR jar video, so if you want to go watch that, you can. I'll link it down below. But yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I've heard such good things about it. It's Saturday, it's around noon. My boyfriend and I are going to go scope out a new coffee shop that's pretty close to us, and we're both just gonna read. He picked out something on Kindle Unlimited. I'll share whatever he's reading with you when I find out. And I obviously am gonna be reading this, and we're just gonna read together at a coffee shop and have a good time. So I'll take you along with me, and once I have some initial thoughts and feelings on the book, I will share those with you. Let's go drink some coffee. Or in my case, I think I'm gonna get a matcha latte, because I make lattes at home, but I don't ever make matcha lattes at home. So I wanna treat myself. I wanna treat myself to something that I don't normally have. Okay, let's go. We are back from the coffee shop. I ended up taking a little nap on the couch, as I am wont to do on the weekends. I'm just a very sleepy individual, so I almost always take a nap on the weekend days. And I've just woken up, here to give you an update, here to tell you about my feelings on the book. I am really liking it so far. I am 55-ish pages through, and our 2 love interests are just meeting for the second time, but the first time in 15 years. So basically the book opens up with the perspective of the woman. She is an erotica writer, and not only an erotica writer, but a vampire erotica writer, and she is the mother of a 12-year-old daughter who I find to be hilarious. I have already laughed at the scenes with the daughter, so that's been a good time. Our main character's name is Eva, and we have gotten a little bit of her family background. She was also raised by a single mom who made pretty questionable choices and put Eva in some very uncomfortable isn't the right word, it's too mild of a word, but some very unsafe situations, let's say. So that's a little bit of Eva's backstory. And then we have our other perspective of Shane, who is also an author. He's an award-winning author. He has only written 4 books, but they have all been highly celebrated works. He's kind of an elusive figure, so he doesn't like to be in the spotlight, it sounds like. Part of his story is that he will seek out schools in impoverished communities and find students to mentor in his free time. That is something that he feels really passionately about, and so I feel like that is probably going to end up being connected to his upbringing, but that hasn't been confirmed yet, so I'm just speculating. Shane has traveled to New York to attend an event that he knows Eva is going to be at, and that is where I am in the story. They are just seeing each other for the first time after 15 years apart, and we don't know anything about their history together, and I am dying to know, so I'm going to obviously keep reading and figure all that out. But I do just want to quickly say that this book is not a light and fluffy romance. It has already, in 55 pages, covered pretty serious, heavy topics. And I just want to talk about 2 really quickly. One is this idea of invisible chronic illness. Eva suffers from migraines, from chronic migraines, and obviously, there's no outward manifestation of a migraine. It's happening internally, but it can be so debilitating. And there's just some really, really good discussion about her experiences with this invisible chronic illness that I found to be really enlightening. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about was this conversation that was happening at this event that they're both attending about how Black authors are expected to write about Black struggles, and how even when they want to write sort of fluffy or just purely entertaining reads, often those works aren't picked up by publishers. I just thought that whole conversation and dialogue was really illuminating. So I'm just really, really happy that I have picked up this book, and I'm excited to see where it goes and what this relationship between Shane and Eva ends up looking like. I want to know what happened to them 15 years ago and why they haven't spoken since. So I'm gonna go into it, and I'm not gonna give any spoilers in this vlog, so don't worry about that. That's about as much detail as I'm going to give you moving forward. In future clips, I'm just gonna give my feelings on the book and tell you whether I'm enjoying it or not. I know that we're gonna go to the gym later. I might just check in tomorrow when I've read a lot more of the book, but we will just see, and I will talk to you later. Hi everyone, it is Sunday morning, and I'm here to give you a little bit of an update on the book. I'm 183 pages in and loving it. Really, really eating this one up. Once you start to get a little bit of the relationship history between these 2 characters, it is such a compelling read. I got a little bit into that part last night and then ended up just taking the book with me to the gym because I didn't want to leave it, and pretty much doubled my workout time because I was taking such long reading rest breaks with this. And then I read a little bit this morning, and I would keep reading it, but we are about to go skiing and it's a beautiful day, clear blue skies, so I'm really looking forward to going outside. But I'm also a little bit sad to not continue with this. I might bring it in the car with me and read a little bit while my boyfriend drives. TBD if we can agree upon that, because he's really into the book that he's reading, so I'm hoping we can like switch off driving and maybe we'll both get some reading time in. But yeah, this is so good. I do want to reiterate that this is not a fluffy read. It has a lot of trigger warnings that you should look into if there are certain topics that are triggering for you. Just to name a few, there's sexual assault, there is self-harm, there is substance abuse. There's a lot of heavy topics in this book, so be prepared if you decide to pick this one up. I think this might be a 5 stars. I didn't think that when I read the first like 3 or 4 chapters. I thought it was going to be a strong 4, but the more that we learn about their past together, the more it becomes 5 stars for me. And I still have, 100+ pages to go. So a lot can change in 100 pages. So we'll just have to wait and see. Once we get back from skiing, I am nearly 100% confident that I will just finish this tonight. So I will talk to you later today and give you kind of like my final thoughts on the book. But so far, it's looking good. It is looking good for me to have my very first 5-star read of the year. Hi, I'm filming on my phone because my camera has died, so I hope that the audio and everything is okay. But it's Sunday evening and I have just finished 7 Days in June and want to share my final thoughts. I loved it. I really, really loved it. It was so deep, but there were also a lot of moments of levity, particularly coming from our main character, Eva's 12-year-old daughter. She had a huge, massive personality and she made me giggle several times throughout the book, which I really, really appreciated. And then regarding our 2 main characters, I care deeply for them individually, but I also was rooting for them to end up together, and I think that they deserved to end up together. They had just been through so much in their lifetimes and I wanted them both to be happy. Like, I desperately wanted that for each of them, and that always feels good in a romance, right? The other thing I loved about this book was that there was no miscommunication trope, no like major 3rd act breakup. There was always a really, really good reason for the 2 characters to have split apart and come back together, and I feel like I understood what was going on, right? Like, it made sense to me and I felt like they were really forthcoming with their feelings and they sort of like talked their shit out. And one more thing that I want to say is that there was really good invisible chronic illness representation and mental health illness representation in this book that I thought was really, really well done and well explored, and definitely gave me a lot to chew on. So I really, really enjoyed that aspect of reading this book. I think in the end, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. It was starting off like a 4 for me, and then in the middle of the book, it was like a 5 for sure. And then at the end, I don't know what it was, but it didn't just hit me like a 5. And I feel like if I give myself some time to sit with my feelings, that might change and I might give it a 5. And when I think about the one other romance that I have given a 5 stars in my lifetime, this book supersedes that book. So I feel like in that sense, it does deserve a 5. So I'm just at war with myself. I don't really know what I want to give it. So for now, let's say 4.5. And if my mind changes by the end of the video, I will obviously let you know. But that's kind of what's going on up in here as of right now. I'd like to read a little bit before bed, so I think I'm going to pick up next I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. This book is a sci-fi book that was written in, or it was published in 1995. And I've just seen it circulating around Book Talk and Bookstagram and BookTube, so I wanted to pick it up. It's pretty short and I have it on ebook, and I've kind of been craving reading something on my Kindle just so I can lie in bed in the dark and use one hand and be super, super lazy. So this is what I would like to read next, and I'm very excited about it. In terms of the premise, I think I'm gonna butcher it a little bit, but I'll tell you what I think it's about, and if I need to correct that in a future clip, I will. But to my knowledge, this is about a group of women who are living underground in a bunker and they are being guarded by men. And living in this bunker is like the only life that they've ever known. And then one day the men vanish and the women have the opportunity to enter the real world, and they don't know what to do with themselves, or I don't know, we just kind of see the story unfold from there. So super, super intriguing, right? I'm very, very excited about this one. So I'm just gonna go read that right now. I have work tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday, but it's a shorter work day. I'm working from like 10:30 to 3:30 or something like that, just because not enough patients needed to be seen. And so I think I will be able to read quite a bit tomorrow, which is good because I don't know if I'm going to be able to read that much on Tuesday. I don't know, we'll see day by day. My schedule is always changing, so I will just let you know as I find out what my schedule is going to look like. But I'd like to read 2 more books in the next few days that I think are going to be 5 stars, and hopefully one will just like stand out as a new favorite, because that's really what I'm looking for and hoping for with this video. So we will see. In the meantime, I bid you good night, and I will see you on Monday. It's Tuesday night. I didn't film it all yesterday, and I kind of barely read in the last couple of days, but I do have a little bit to say about I Who Have Never Known Men. I'm like 50 pages in. This book is so, so intriguing. I was worried that it might feel outdated because it was written in 1995, but that is not the case. It is very, very riveting. It's written from the perspective of the youngest of 40 women who live in this bunker, and she isn't just the youngest, but she's the youngest by many years. It seems like when they were all trapped or imprisoned, she was still a child, while the rest of these women were all adults at that point. So it's really and truly all she's ever known, living underground, whereas the other women have kind of memories from a previous life, and they remember being rounded up, it seems like, and being put in this bunker. So I'm excited, very, very excited to see where the story goes. One thing that I will just mention, because it kind of took me by surprise, is that there are no chapters in this book. The book is essentially its own very, very long chapter, which I wouldn't normally like. I like to have kind of natural pauses and natural breaks that are provided to me so I can put the book down at like convenient spots, but I can't really do that with this book. I kind of just have to decide that I'm going to put it down and do that and know that it's going to be just right in the middle of the story. But it hasn't bothered me that much, I think, because I know that it's a short book, so it feels manageable for some reason. I don't know. But anyway, I'm loving it so far. I'm gonna keep reading tonight. Tomorrow I don't have work because I'm working on Saturday this week, so I'm planning on reading a lot tomorrow, and we'll hopefully finish it and have some final thoughts on the book. But fingers crossed for a 5-star read. I feel very, very hopeful that this is going to be a 5-star read. And yeah, I think that is it for now. I'm gonna get into bed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Five stars. 5 freaking stars. Go read this book. Everyone go read this book. It's short. It's not going to take up too much of your time, and it is excellent. It is excellent. Funnily enough, this book has a couple of things that I don't typically like to have in my books. Number one being no chapter breaks, which I already talked about. The second thing is that it doesn't give you answers to your questions. You never get to fully find out what is happening in this book. Usually that drives me nuts. Usually I'm not a fan of that. I like everything to be just like wrapped up in a cute little bow, no loose ends. But it just worked for me in this story. It absolutely worked for me. I didn't feel like I needed to know what was going on to enjoy the story. I mean, the writing was so good. It is definitely speculative fiction, definitely sci-fi, and it's just so interesting. It's so unique. I've never read anything like this. I feel like I'm going to be thinking about it for many, many weeks, months, years. Like I'm going to hold on to this story for a very long time. And that to me is 5 stars. You know, it just had that like that I was looking for in a 5-star book. So it gets that 5-star title. It gets my first 5-star title of the entire year. And reading this has made me realize that I want to stand by my initial rating of 7 Days in June, because to me, this was so clearly, without a question, a 5 stars, and 7 Days in June wasn't. So I'm going to stick with giving 7 Days in June a 4.5, whereas this one in my mind deserves a full 5. And I'm going to love this book forever and treasure it and get as many people to read it as I possibly can, because there's so much discourse to be had on it. There's so much to talk about. So loved it. Go read it. 5 stars. The next book that I'm going to pick up right now is The Death of Vivek Oji. I don't know what this is about, but it's 250 pages and I've heard amazing things, so I'm really, really excited about it. I'm hoping that I will finish it by tomorrow night, because tomorrow is the last day of February and I just kind of want to round out my reading month with this book. So yeah, I'm gonna start now and read for however long I can today. I'm gonna go on a trail run with like a running group later, and then our friend is visiting, so we're gonna have dinner with her. So I might not get a ton of reading in today, and then I'm working tomorrow, but I'll have some time in the morning and some time in the evening to read as well. And I'm just gonna prioritize this book and try to power through and finish it. And hopefully it gets a high rating as well. And I love it because thus far I have had just an excellent time reading all these books for this video. So I'm just kind of hoping to continue on that trajectory. Really, really pleased with how this video's going. I probably won't check in with you later today just because I'm gonna be spending time with my friend, like I said. But I'll see you in the next clip. It is several days later since the last clip that you saw, and I have since finished The Death of Vivek Oji. I am so sorry. I meant to film updates midway through the book because that's the whole point of doing a reading vlog, but I just didn't get the chance. My schedule got very busy with social engagements, and then anytime I wasn't with people, I was reading the book or working, so I just didn't have time to film. And I hope it's okay that you're just gonna get my final thoughts on the book. So let me tell you a little bit about this book, since I didn't know what it was about when I went into it. I went into it totally blind. But basically, this book takes place in Nigeria, and it opens up with 2 parents discovering their child's dead body at their front doorstep, and they don't know what has happened. So we start off the book knowing how the book ends, and even the title gives it away, right? Like, we know that our main character, Vivek Oji, has died. And basically you're spending the rest of the book trying to figure out what led to his death, and you're also seeing kind of the aftermath of his death as well. This setup of the book really reminded me of Everything I Never Told You, which is very similar in the way of a child dying in a family. You know that from the very first sentence, and then you're just trying to piece everything together moving forward in the book. And I really like that kind of story. This book was no different. I really enjoyed myself. It was definitely a very sad read, and when you figure out what happened to Vivek, it is devastating, to say the least. So I wouldn't go into this book expecting lighthearted feelings, for sure. Something that stood out to me in the story were the friendships that were developed. They were particularly heartwarming, and I loved to just see the group dynamic between Vivek and his friends and his cousin. I am going to give this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and the reason that it wasn't a 5-star read for me was there was a certain relationship that was formed in this book that I wasn't a fan of, and if you read the book, you probably know which relationship I'm talking about. And it's not that I haven't understood why this kind of relationship exists in other stories, but for some reason in this book, it didn't feel like it added value to the story or that it was there for any particular reason, and for me, it just made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, and so I had to knock my rating down just by 1 point. And I'd love to know from the author's perspective why they decided to include this relationship in the story. So I kind of want to do a little bit of research to see if I can get a better understanding or grasp of why this relationship was included at all. But my initial thoughts are that it did not need to be there, and so 4 out of 5 stars. I still thought it was a really great read and would recommend it to pretty much anyone. And that wraps up the video. Let me know down below if you have read any of the 3 books that I've read and what your thoughts were. Or if you haven't read any of these books, maybe you can just tell me what your most recent 5-star read was so that I can add it to my TBR if I haven't already read it. And with that, I'm gonna just end this video. If you watched all the way through, thank you so much. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.